very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Said. On the show tonight, we will tell you how the Russian President Vladimir Putin has defied US President Donald Trump's 50-day ultimatum for a Ukraine ceasefire and has unleashed one of its most intense drone assaults on Ukrainian soil. Also on the show, we will tell you about Europe's missile gap, and we ask if Europe can inflict real damage on Russia if a direct war breaks out, because as of now, Europe's strike reach is severely limited without US support. From West Asia, we will tell you how Israel has struck the Syrian military headquarters in Damascus. The United States of America has now asked Israel to halt its strikes on Syrian forces. All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show tonight. Let's get you started. Moscow has again unleashed one of its most intense drone assaults on Ukraine. At least 4 regions in Ukraine were bombed on Tuesday night. High-flown ultimatums and warnings appear to have been set aside and ignored completely by Russia. Almost a statement from the Kremlin: the more you warn, the more we fire. Ukrainian Air Force reported that around 400 Iranian-made Shahed drones were fired across the country. Among the hardest hit was Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky's hometown, Kryvyi Rih, which officials say endured the most devastating attack since the war began in 2022. The head of the city's military administration said a ballistic missile and nearly 30 drones were used in the assault, which ignited fires, damaged important infrastructure, and knocked out both electricity and water supplies. Zelensky said that Russia had targeted energy infrastructure in the city, which left at least 15 people injured. In a post on social media, Zelensky accused Russia of targeting energy infrastructure, asserting Ukraine's urgent need for more advanced air defense systems, especially air defense systems and interceptors. Now in Kharkiv, 17 explosions were recorded in a span of just 20 minutes. The rapid succession of blasts reportedly threw the city into chaos, highlighting the scale and precision of Russia's assault on Ukraine. Meanwhile, in Vinnytsia, located southwest of the capital Kiev, at least 8 people were injured in targeted drone strikes by Russia. 2 key infrastructure sites were engulfed in flames as well. Ukraine's emergency services scrambled to respond to the damage at multiple impacted zones. Ukrainian officials say that at least 3 people have lost their lives in the last 24 hours, 1 in the northern Sumy region due to artillery shelling and 2 in Kharkiv following the Russian strikes. Officials reported at least 38 others have been injured nationwide. On the other hand, Russian forces say that the country's air defense systems intercepted 7 Ukrainian guided bombs, 1 HIMARS rocket and 103 fixed-wing drones. The attack killed 1 person and injured 24 in Russia's Voronezh region. Now, the latest round of Russian attacks come days after Trump issued a 50-day ultimatum to Putin to strike a peace deal with Ukraine or face stiff tariffs from Washington. And earlier today, Trump downplayed the idea of sending long-range weapons to Ukraine. He told reporters at the White House that the US, and I'm quoting Trump here, not looking to do that. So if Trump's ultimatum was meant to deter Putin, the Russian response both on air and on ground suggests exactly the opposite. Russian forces are steadily advancing in eastern Ukraine, closing in on the key strongholds of Prokofsk and Kostiantivka. Now, by capturing these surrounding villages, Moscow is reportedly working to isolate these cities, disrupt Ukrainian supply lines, and further set the stage for a full-scale assault on Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Experts say that if Russia takes those cities, it could seize full control of the Donetsk region, a major goal of Putin's war strategy. As of now, as Ukrainian cities burn and diplomacy teeters, it is clear that at least at this moment, Putin is not blinking. And for now, Ukraine is left to absorb the consequences. And as long-range weapons become the new focus of modern wars, the conversation is no longer just limited to Ukraine. It now extends to Ukraine's allies as well, especially in Europe. Does Europe itself have the long-range strike capabilities it needs? How many such weapons do NATO's European members possess? And is it enough to defend themselves if a direct war with Russia ever breaks out? Let's break it down for you in the next few minutes. Just days ago, a top US Army general warned NATO, and I'm quoting him here, the Russian army is bigger today than when it started the war in Ukraine, and they will continue investing in long-range rockets, missiles, and sophisticated air defenses. More alliance capability is really important, unquote. Now, this is a quote from Major General John Rafferty, speaking to Reuters from a US base in Wiesbaden, Germany. He said that Russia's effective use of long-range missiles in Ukraine has perhaps convinced Western militaries of their shared importance in a bid to destroy command centers, transportation hubs, and missile launchers far behind enemy lines. Rafferty has just completed his assignment commanding the US Army's 56th Artillery Command in Germany. This command is preparing for the temporary deployment of American long-range missiles in Europe from 2026. But the question is, will these deployments go ahead under Trump? I ask this because the deal was signed under former US President Joe Biden. The deal signed under Biden included Tomahawk missiles, which has a range of 1,800 kilometers, and the Dark Eagle hypersonic missiles that is under development as of now, having a range of 3,000 kilometers. Of course, Russia has criticized the planned deployment of long-range US missiles in Germany, calling it a serious threat to its national security. That's what Russia has said. Moscow has been vocal about this. It has also, on several occasions, dismissed NATO's concerns that it could attack an alliance member and has instead cited NATO expansion as one of its reasons for invading Ukraine in 2022. Still, NATO as of now remains worried because despite Western sanctions, despite Ukraine receiving billions worth of weapons, Russia has kept its war machinery running and is still advancing in eastern Ukraine. Just 2 days ago, French President Emmanuel Macron called for a stronger Europe, saying, and I'm quoting Macron here, "To be free in this world, you must be feared, and to be feared, you must be powerful," unquote. Fabian Hoffman, a missile specialist at Oslo University, estimates that the US provides around 90% of NATO's long-range missile capabilities. He told news agency Reuters, and I quote him here, "Long-range strike capabilities are crucial in modern warfare. Not having them puts you at an immediate disadvantage," unquote. And Europe, as of now, knows, it's aware about its weaknesses. Under pressure from Trump, many European nations are increasing defense spending, but the reality remains European air-launched cruise missiles like the British Storm Shadow, French Scalp and German Taurus only have ranges of a few hundred kilometers. France's naval cruise missile MDCN can travel over 1,000 kilometers. In comparison, Russia's missile arsenal is one of the most advanced and diverse in the world. With hypersonic weapons already operational, and just for comparison here between the weapons with NATO and Russia, here's how Russia's missile arsenal stacks up against NATO. Russia fields hypersonic weapons like Kinzhal and Zircon, alongside its Iskander and Caliber missiles, with ranges stretching up to 2,500 kilometers. In comparison, Europe's longest range missiles barely crosses 1,000 kilometers. And the long-range strike capability that NATO does have is all thanks to the United States of America, as most long-range missiles belong to the US. Take a look at this map on your screens right now. It shows where US bases are located in Europe. And it also shows that Europe's security umbrella is propped up by the United States of America. From Ramstein to Avignon and Wiesbaden, US bases across Europe host all these important assets. And there are several more bases as well. But as you can see, without US support, Europe's strike reach is severely limited. So the question remains, without the US, is Europe virtually unarmed? And even with their existing stocks, would they have enough to inflict real damage on Russia if a direct war breaks out? Tensions in West Asia continue to rise. The Israeli army has launched strikes next to the Syrian presidential palace and also targeted places near the Syrian Army and Defense Ministry headquarters. The attack follows a dramatic escalation in the southern Syrian city of Suwaida, where intense battles have broken out between the Syrian government forces and the Druze fighters. Now, just hours before the airstrikes, Israel had issued a stern warning to Syria to withdraw its troops from Suwaida or face the consequences.
قصف بغارتين استهدفت هيئة الأركان بشكل مزدوج من اليمين ومن اليسار. شاهدنا قطع من المبنى تتطاير. قصف جديد يا شباب، قصف خطونا بسرعة 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 بسرعة.
إذا استهدافنا من هيئة الأركان بشكل كامل.
Syrian security forces could be seen monitoring the streets near the military headquarters in Damascus, and that's following the Israeli strike. Suwaida, home to Syria's Druze minority, has turned into a battlefield. A ceasefire announced by Damascus on Tuesday did not even last a single day. Deadly street battles continue to flare between Druze fighters and government forces. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara ordered massive deployment of troops in Suwaida. According to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, more than 250 people have died in the fighting, including over 130 soldiers of the Syrian armed forces. The Israeli government has dismissed Syria's new leadership under Ahmed al-Shara, calling it a group of extremists. Israeli officials see the Druze as potential allies in Syria and claim that their intervention is meant to shield them from state aggression.
We have an obligation to maintain the southwestern region of Syria as a demilitarized zone bordering Israel. We will not allow a return to a situation where a second Lebanon is being established there, and we are also obligated to protect the Druze residents. We are doing this through intense operations.
אנחנו עושים זאת באמצעות פעולות.
Well, footage released by the Israeli military shows airstrikes hitting Syrian military vehicles en route to Suwaida. Israeli warplanes launched at least 7 air raids across the Suwaida region and also struck many parts of the capital Damascus. Syria's health ministry said Israeli strikes on Wednesday killed at least 1 person and wounded 18 others. The United States, according to an Axios report, has now asked Israel to halt its strikes on Syrian military forces in southern Syria. The report, citing a U.S. official, said that Israel has assured the Americans that it would cease the attacks on Syria now. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States was concerned, adding that he had just spoken to the relevant parties over the phone. But the fire is spreading. Many Israeli Druze could be seen breaching the Israeli-Syria border fence in the Golan Heights, crossing into Syrian territory. The IDF attempted to stop the breach by firing flashbangs and tear gas. Fires broke out in open fields as crowds surged across the frontier. Netanyahu urged the Druze community not to enter Syria.
The Druze citizens of Israel, the situation in Suwaida, the situation in southwestern Syria is very serious. The IDF is operating, the Air Force is operating, other forces are operating. We are acting to save our Druze brothers and to eliminate the regime's gangs. And now I have one request from you. You are citizens of Israel. Do not cross the border. You are endangering your lives.
Well, the Israeli strikes on Damascus mark a dangerous turn. Developments and diplomacy here will decide whether this conflict spreads. War shadows deepen. Can this one be controlled before it gets out of hand? Shifting focus now to Gaza, where the hunger crisis has turned deadlier than ever. In scenes of utter desperation, at least 20 Palestinians have been killed in a stampede at an aid distribution site in southern Gaza. What was meant to bring relief ended in tragedy, as thousands scrambled for food in a place that is on the brink of famine. The aid distribution site where the crush happened is run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, also known as GHF, which is an Israeli and US-backed initiative.
الامريكان راشين على وجوههم عشان يموت.
Videos showed Palestinians carrying casualties into Al Nasser Hospital in Gaza's Khan Yunis, and eyewitnesses narrating the scene of the crush.
People were pushing from the back, and in front there are nets. Either you get crushed and die, or you can't get out. You only had 2 options, either to die or to get injured. These were the only 2 options at this moment.
Several eyewitnesses said guards sprayed them with pepper gas after locking the gates, trapping them between fences. One injured man said people were crushed with nowhere to go. Another survivor said there were only 2 options. Number 1, to die or be injured, as people fell and were trampled. Others described being beaten while lying on the ground, unable to move. Bodies arrived at hospitals in waves. A young man who survived said people begged guards to fire shots in the air in a bid to disperse the crowd, but their pleas were ignored. He called the aid a trap, not aid, accusing security forces of shooting and spraying pepper bombs to control the masses.
I swear this aid is a trap, not aid. They shoot at us, throw bombs and spray us with hot pepper spray in our eyes.
Paramedics said there are not enough hospitals for the injured, nor land to bury the dead. The GHF confirmed the deaths, marking the first time it has acknowledged fatalities at its centers.
There are not enough hospitals for the injured or the martyrs, and there is not enough land for the cemeteries. I appeal to every Palestinian citizen, enough of what is happening, enough of the tragedies that we are living.
Local authorities claim Israeli forces have killed at least 500 Palestinians near GHF sites since they opened in May. GHF said 19 people were trampled and one was stabbed in what it called a chaotic surge triggered by agitators in the crowd. The Gaza Health Ministry, run by Hamas, blamed suffocation and overcrowding, calling it a deliberate massacre by Israel and the Americans. It alleged gas was fired at the crowd, a claim that the GHF has denied. GHF instead accused Hamas of inciting the violence, saying armed elements purposely stirred unrest. It said multiple firearms were seen in the crowd and a US worker was threatened at gunpoint. These centers, opened since March, draw desperate crowds who often walk through dangerous military zones overnight in search of food. Survivors describe the distribution as a free-for-all with no order, and many casualties occur even before reaching the gates. Many in Gaza say the real solution is to open border crossings to let goods in rather than forcing people to risk their lives for food. Israel promotes GHF as an alternative to the UN system, which it accuses of letting Hamas steal aid, a claim that the UN has denied. The UN, as well as other major humanitarian groups, have refused to work with GHF, saying its aid centers violate core humanitarian principles. The war in Gaza, triggered by Hamas's October 2023 attack, has displaced nearly all of Gaza's population and created extreme hunger. Gaza health authorities say over 58,000 Palestinians have been killed, a number that only climbs in leaps. When will it stop, is the question we ask tonight. Let's now tell you what else lined up for you on the show tonight. From India, we will tell you how a major illicit drug manufacturing unit has been busted in Uttarakhand. Finally, we will tell you about South Korea's loneliness epidemic and how Seoul has started a new initiative to combat this. Well, a stark fault line has fractured the facade of Western support for Ukraine. While President Trump pushes a sweeping multi-billion-dollar arms deal, key European powerhouses are reportedly opting out, sparking deep divisions over who pays the escalating price for Kiev's survival. Our next report telling you more.
Missiles roar across battlefields where Ukraine fights for survival. But behind the scenes, the fight for support grows just as fierce. President Donald Trump unveiled an ambitious plan for European nations to purchase billions of dollars in US-made weaponry, including vital Patriot missile systems, and funnel them directly to Ukraine.
Anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people.
However, the ink barely dried on the announcement before cracks began to appear, threatening to undermine the very solidarity Ukraine desperately needs. France and Italy are reportedly pulling out of the NATO-financed plan to buy US advanced weaponry for Ukraine. Paris, facing its own significant budget constraints, argues that diverting funds to US manufacturers would stifle its domestic arms sector and delay the continent's independent military buildup. European Union has publicly challenged Trump by bluntly insisting that the US must share the burden of arming Ukraine.
Call is that everybody would do the same. It's if you promise to give the weapons but say that somebody else is going to pay for it, it's not really given by you, is it?
There is also confusion over which nation would be sending the much-needed Patriot systems to Ukraine and when.
We must not have any illusions. A Patriot system that we now say should go to Ukraine will take months before it can be delivered. So we are now talking about days, perhaps weeks, until a decision is made. But then it will happen very quickly.
This simmering transatlantic tug-of-war over financial responsibility threatens to slow down the very weapons deliveries Ukraine so desperately needs, potentially prolonging the agony on the front lines. As Russia continues its brutal offensive, these internal Western divisions risk emboldening Moscow and deepening Ukraine's struggle.
Well, amid growing Chinese pressure in the South China Sea, the Philippines has started to shift its strategic ties, deepening both official and unofficial ties with Taiwan and gradually redefining its national security priorities. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Manila, that was once cautious about engagement with Taipei, is now perhaps taking quiet but decisive steps that reflect how closely its fate is tied to Taiwan's. That includes increasing security coordination despite publicly following the One China policy. Philippine Defense Secretary underscored that any Chinese military activity in Philippine water demands serious attention. Teodoro acknowledged that developments in Taiwan directly affect the Philippines. He also backed a Japanese view that considers the East China Sea, South China Sea and Korean Peninsula as one interconnected military zone. The Philippines has faced escalating tensions with China, especially in the contested waters of the South China Sea. Chinese ships have increased their deployment near the western Philippine coast. Philippine authorities also report a rise in cyber attacks and espionage believed to be rising from Beijing. In response, the Philippine Coast Guard has patrolled the Bashi Channel, the waters between Taiwan and the Philippines alongside Taiwanese vessels. Now in June, Japanese warships also docked in Manila for a 3-month-long deployment in the Indo-Pacific region. And last month, observers from Taiwan's Navy and Marines attended joint military exercises led by US and Philippine forces. Now, these drills, known as Kamandag, involve US, Philippine and Japanese troops practicing anti-ship missile launches from the Batanes Islands. Just over 200 kilometers from Taiwan, though Philippine officials insisted that the exercise targeted no specific nation, experts say that the drills clearly rehearsed a possible response to Chinese aggression towards Taiwan. While Taiwan did not send troops to take part, its personnel monitored the drills and joined in the planning procedure, perhaps signaling a quiet but growing military understanding between the island and Manila. China has voiced strong disapproval, growing ties between Manila and Taipei on that. In April, when the Philippine military chief told troops to be ready in case of a Taiwan invasion, unaware that he was being recorded, Beijing issued a sharp warning. More recently, China reacted to U.S. missile deployments in the Philippines by accusing Manila of aligning itself with Washington's military ambitions. A Chinese defense spokesperson claimed that the Philippines had become, and I'm quoting here, co-conspirator in regional destabilization. That's what China is saying. The shift in Manila's stance has reportedly unsettled some of its Southeast Asian neighbors as well. Countries like Malaysia worry that the Philippines' alignment with Taiwan and with the US could drag the region into a larger US-China conflict. More than 150,000 Filipino workers currently live and work in Taiwan, and in the event of war, they would need immediate evacuation, adding perhaps another layer of urgency to the Philippines' defense considerations. Under its mutual defense treaty with the United States, the Philippines could be drawn into direct military action should a war break out over Taiwan. In 2023, the U.S. expanded its military footprint in the Philippines, gaining access to 4 additional bases. 3 of them are located on Luzon, the Philippine island closest to Taiwan, and Manila has not confirmed whether it would permit the U.S. perhaps to use these sites in a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. In other news, Ethiopia's National Intelligence and Security Service has announced the arrest of 82 individuals affiliated with ISIS, who were trained and deployed to carry out terror operations across various parts of the country. According to a statement by the National Intelligence Security Services, or NISS, some of those apprehended are thought to have participated in illegal activities such as gathering intelligence, funding and logistics as well. On Tuesday, Ethiopia's NISS announced that the detentions took place in Addis Ababa and the regions of Oromia, Amhara, Somalia and Harare. Now, the 82 suspects were a part of the Islamic State Somalia affiliate, which operates in the semi-autonomous Puntland region. The security agency also noted that community members played a role in aiding the arrests, and investigations are currently ongoing. This crackdown is a part of ongoing efforts to counter the growing influence of Islamic State factions in the region amidst increased U.S. military actions. In recent years, the ISIS faction in Somalia has become an increasingly important part of its parent organization's worldwide network. However, despite their growth, the faction remains smaller in comparison to the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab group. The U.S. military has amplified its airstrike efforts against these militants. And shifting our focus to India now, police in the northern state of Uttarakhand, together with the Special Task Force, claim to have busted an international drugs gang after raiding an MDMA drug factory in Nanak Mata Dam area of the Udham Singh Nagar district in Uttarakhand. The key accused, Kunal Kohli, has been arrested in connection with the case. And it turns out that his smuggling racket spreads far and wide and even globally. According to reports, the Uttarakhand police has managed to retrieve MDMA, also known as meth or ecstasy, 126 liters of banned chemical and 28 kilograms of powder from this factory in Uttarakhand, which makes all these raw ingredients for drugs worth rupees 12 crore. The Udham Nagar police has drawn links to this case with a drug bust conducted by the Maharashtra police, where close to 11 grams of MDMA was reportedly recovered in the past.
The state police has been able to procure 7.4 grams of MDMA from the factory raid near the Nanak Mata Dam. Our investigations indicate an interstate network producing 12 crores worth of MDMA. We thank the Mumbai police for flagging this issue.
Reports also suggest that the two arrested in the Maharashtra case blew the whistle on a larger interstate smuggling network during the investigation, and also informed about the heads operating behind it. The Champavat police in Uttarakhand calls the statewide crackdown a major milestone and also an initiative part of drug-free Devabhoomi mission directed by the state's chief minister. Now, the question is, how spread out or vast is this network really? Turns out, from the north to the south of the country, reportedly covering Thane to Ghaziabad and even Varanasi, and even across the border to Nepal. In a world growing more connected and yet more isolated than ever, South Korea is taking an innovative approach in a bid to tackle a growing mental health crisis. We are talking about the epidemic of loneliness, which is not just a social issue. It connects to high suicide rates and plummeting birth numbers. Seoul has now opened mind convenience stores. But these are not your typical corner shops. Soft lift interior, massage chairs, foot spas, ramen station and quiet activity zones. Here, residents struggling with loneliness can sit in comfort, enjoy a meal, watch a movie or simply spend time in company. People don't have to talk here. The idea is that even passive interactions can help combat the city's loneliness epidemic. Unlike traditional therapy centers, these spaces are informal, stigma-free and open to all. Visitors can even speak to on-site counselors there or just enjoy a moment of stillness. In Seoul, home to nearly 10 million people, single-person households have surged from 16% to nearly 40%. In all homes in just over 2 decades, that's the number. A 2022 Seoul Institute survey found that 62% of single-person households report experiencing loneliness, while city estimates suggest that 130,000 young people suffer from social isolation. In such a situation, Mind Stores offers something rare, a safer space to just be. In a city known for speed and pressure, sometimes all it takes is a quiet chair, a warm meal, and a reminder that you are not alone. A rare oil portrait of Mahatma Gandhi is making waves at a London auction, where it has sold for over $200,000. The nearly 1.7 crore in Indian rupees surpassing all the expectations. This portrait of Gandhi, made by British American artist Claire Lytton in 1931, is believed to be the only oil portrait that Gandhi actually sat for.
Who the sitter is, it's the history of the painting, it's the artist, and the fact that it's now just coming out to for sale, having been only in the artist's collection and in the family's collection after that. So really lots of different parts coming together to make this a really rare picture and a rare opportunity for coming up to sell.
The painting was reportedly made when Gandhi paid a visit to London to attend the second roundtable conference and was introduced to the artist via a political journalist.
So he's a globally significant person, and really the painting deserves a wider audience than 3 or 4 people in an English suburban home. So I think it'd be great if it got seen by more people. Maybe it should go back to India. Maybe that's its real home.
Gandhi has been a topic of research and study across ages. In fact, initially thought to be damaged, this particular work remained in the artist's collection until her death in 1989 in the US, and it was then eventually passed down to her family. Explosive-laden drones hit 3 oil fields in Iraq's northern autonomous Kurdistan region for a 3rd week straight. Kurdish forces say that there were no casualties, but the oil field were damaged after the attack. Kurdistan Counter-Terrorism Services said that in Zakhau district, 2 oil fields were targeted by explosive-laden drones, followed by a similar drone attack on an US-based oil field in Dohuk province. Group has claimed responsibility for the attack so far, but Iraqi Kurdistan security sources say that the initial investigations suggest that the drone came from areas under the control of Iran-backed militias. On Tuesday, a drone attack halted the manufacturing at the Sarsang oil field in Iraq's Kurdistan region, only hours before its US operator signed a deal with the Iraqi government in a bid to develop another field. On Monday, 1 drone was shot down near Arbil airport, while 2 others hit the Kurmala oil field in the same province, causing material damage. In the past few weeks, Iraq and particularly the Kurdistan region have seen a spat of unclaimed drone and rocket attacks. Iraq has frequently witnessed such attacks, often linked to regional proxy struggles between Iran and US and its ally Israel. This series of attacks also comes at a time when there is heightened tension going on between Baghdad and Erbil over oil exports. With a major pipeline through Turkey shut since 2023 over legal disputes and technical issues. 11 years after it began, the world's biggest human imaging project has now reached a major milestone. Run by the United Kingdom BioBook, it has now finished conducting extensive body scans of 100,000 subjects who volunteered to be a part of this study. These scans, when combined with data on lifestyle, environment, physical traits, blood samples and genetics, it serves as a powerful resource for medical research. Now, since 2014, volunteers have been lining up at facilities across the United Kingdom for a battery of medical scans. Each participant is scanned with 5 different types of MRI, X-ray and ultrasound machines. The data gathered is stored anonymously, but it is linked to each participant's medical and lifestyle information. And the 100,000th participant was identified as Steve.
I've had family who've had health issues, my mum in particular at the moment now, she's suffering from early stages of dementia. Close friends have had cancer and things. Giving up my time for medical research, who can learn from people, the lifestyles, the health, and obviously what their bodies are like, which ultimately at the end of the day is going to help medical research for the future.
The goal is to further our understanding of why people develop age-related illnesses, how to prevent these diseases from reaching an advanced stage, and also to conduct research into diseases like dementia, heart diseases and diabetes.
This is a huge milestone for UK Biobank because when we started the project 11 years ago, no one thought this was feasible. What this imaging data will enable researchers to do is just to answer questions like, why is it that someone in their early 60s has the heart function or the brain function of someone 10 years older? What are the genetic and lifestyle factors that influence accelerated aging and the development of disease?
Interestingly, the only instance in which volunteers receive individual feedback is if the scans indicate a potentially serious health issue. The aim here is to gather a major amount of data to help scientists research factors that trigger disease and how they manifest in the human body. Launched in 2003, UK Biobank is one of the largest collections of biological samples and health data in the world. The participants in the imaging study will be invited back every few years for new scans to track age-related changes to their body. The data has already revealed valuable insights, including the adverse effects of COVID-19 on the brain, how noise from airports threatens heart health, and perhaps how liver diseases can be detected without an invasive biopsy. Over 30,000 terabytes of this anonymized health data has been made available to researchers working for colleges, charities, governments, and the private sector. Most are charged roughly between $3,900 to $11,700. And the goal is early prevention using AI. Researchers can detect patterns in the massive data set that would take humans years to analyze. All right. If you have been in a group chat or even just scrolling through social media lately, you may have noticed something strange. People are actually starting to sound and talk like AI chatbots, especially OpenAI's ChatGPT. From carefully worded responses and over-explaining to phrases like, as an AI language model being used, human communication is now picking the patterns and quirks of AI-generated language. According to a study conducted by Germany's Max Planck Institute for Human Development, it seems that while we are busy making AI more human-like, they might have subtly started to make us sound a little more like them. Are your friends suddenly using words like adapt or delve in casual conversation? If so, you might not be alone. Chances are that they might be spending more time with AI chatbots, and it's now starting to rub off on them. Researchers at Germany's Max Planck Institute for Human Development analyzed more than 360,000 YouTube videos from academic channels and over 770,000 conversational podcasts. They discovered that ever since ChatGPT burst onto the scene, people are using certain words far more frequently, and these aren't just everyday words. Most of them often pop up in AI-generated text. Now, what's really interesting is that these scripts are not generated by bots, but by regular folks who are beginning to mirror the communication style of AI without even realizing it. The study reveals that humans have increased their use of AI-favored vocabulary by 51%. Although this study focuses primarily on AI language adoption, some experts believe AI might also be influencing how we sound. According to a study titled Emotion AI by Trends Research and Advisory, a UA-based company, humans might subconsciously start to mirror AI's neutral communication style. The thought itself is scary and raises an important question. In our evolving interaction with technology, are we willing to risk losing the authentic human touch that actually makes us uniquely us? A nightmare isn't just a bad dream, it could be a silent assassin in the dark. What if your mind, in its deepest sleep, could terrify you to death? New research is challenging what we know about fear, sleep, and sudden death. Take a look.
Dreams are the mind's cinema, vivid, strange, and sometimes beautiful. They stitch together fragments of memory, emotion, and fantasy in the theater of the unconscious. We smile, get tense, and sometimes mumble some words, but when dreams morph into nightmares, they twist reality into terror. They don't just frighten, they shake the body, rattle the brain, and now scientists say they could kill. Yes, kill. In the chilling silence of sleep, your worst fears can erupt like a storm. Heart racing, blood surging, body paralyzed, brain screaming silently in the dark. Nightmares are not harmless. In fact, they may be the brain's cry for help or a warning sign of something deadly lurking inside. A new study presented at the prestigious European Academy of Neurology has stunned the medical world. Researchers found that people who suffer from frequent vivid nightmares might be at a far greater risk of neurodegenerative diseases, including Parkinson's. What's worse, nightmares may not just be a symptom, but an early trigger, a red flag years before diagnosis. The mechanism is deeply disturbing. Nightmares trigger an intense fight or flight response, flooding the body with stress hormones like cortisol. Our sleeping brains, unable to distinguish fantasy from reality, react as if the threat is genuinely occurring. According to scientists, this prolonged nightly surge of stress, combined with the profound disruption to vital sleep quality and duration, creates severe damage at a cellular level, accelerating the shortening of telomeres which cap the DNA and other markers of biological aging. It's no longer safe to ignore your nightmares. They may be your body's wake-up call. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, Iceland is once again living up to its name as land of ice and fire. A volcano has erupted near Grindavik, sending rivers of molten lava and thick smoke into the sky. The latest in a series of dramatic eruptions in recent years. Take a look at these visuals. Well, there's a new dating trend doing the rounds, and it is more toxic than ghosting or breadcrumbing. Yes, we are talking about banksying. What's that? Now, the modern day dating trend is basically a selfish way of blindsiding a partner with a breakup to protect your own emotions. Apparently, this dating trend is named after Banksy, an anonymous British street artist and political activist known for his works of art. Banksy's art tends to pop up seemingly out of nowhere. The dating trend, banksying, refers to a similar phenomenon, but in a relationship context where one partner blindsides the other with a sudden departure. According to relationship experts, banksying is a coward's way out and a passive approach to escape emotional and accountability obligations. Despite not being a completely new idea, banksying frequently leaves daters feeling anxious, perplexed, and deceived. This toxic dating trend is a systematic and emotionally ambiguous, leaving the other person baffled because nothing was said, nothing was stated clearly until the very end. Whereas ghosting is an abrupt and silent removal. And with that, we slip into a very short break, but we're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION World is One. Do stay tuned.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Vielleicht nur